Formula One has had some insane stories coming out of it over the past few weeks. Since the new year began, we have also had some even better stories come out. The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix has been on everyone's minds recently, and everyone wants to know more about it. So what's happening with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix? Well, stay tuned to today's video as we are going to discuss the FIA releases update on the Abu Dhabi F1 GP investigation. First up, we have FIA released a new statement on the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The current Formula One situation for Lewis Hamilton isn't looking the greatest. He really feels like he was robbed of that latest race, and rightfully so. It must have been a hard moment for him because he was about to break a record that no one had broken before him. Currently, Lewis Hamilton is awaiting further findings before he announces his departure or continuation in Formula One. Sadly, we won't be getting confirmation until March 18th, which is the day of the practice of the season opener for the Bahrain Grand Prix. So Hamilton is in a very awkward situation right now. Hamilton hasn't really made many statements on the matter and seems to be keeping to himself until that date or until something else comes out about it all. The FIA released a statement just a week or so ago now, and it states, following the decision of the World Motorsport Council in Paris on December 15, 2021, the FIA administration, under the leadership of President Mohammed bin Sulayem, has started the detailed analysis of the events of the last Formula One Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The FIA president launched a consultation with all F1 teams on various issues, including this one. On January 19th, an item on the agenda of the Sporting Advisory Committee will be dedicated to the use of the safety car. The following stage will be a shared discussion with all F1 drivers. The outcome of the detailed analysis will be presented to the F1 Commission in February, and final decisions will be announced at the World Motorsport Council in Bahrain on March 18th. FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem has asked Secretary General Sport and recently appointed single-seater director Peter Bayer for proposals to review and optimize the organization of the FIA F1 structure for the 2022 season. It was also reported later that Mercedes denied creating a deal with the FIA in order to exchange Massey and Tombazis. It's a weird time in Formula One right now, as Lewis Hamilton, the sport's biggest star, might actually be leaving over the recent race. Everyone wants him to return, but really, does he need to? He really wants to break that record, so he has a reason, but the time he was about to break it, the world turned against him. Maybe he doesn't want to go through all that again. What do you think about this situation and Lewis Hamilton's decision? Let us know down in the comments section below. And now on to some more Formula One news from the past few weeks. Next up, we have Mick Schumacher makes Formula One debut 30 years after his father. Mick Schumacher is the son of the racing legend Michael Schumacher and is about to make his Formula One debut 30 years after his father made his first appearance during the world-famous championship. He had been a part of the Ferrari Driving Academy and even won himself a Formula 2 title. Clearly, the skill runs in their veins. He's now making his way into Formula One. Ahead of preseason testing, he said, "As a child, I've been dreaming about this for 15 years, and now it's actually happened. It's emotional and just something very nice. My father actually had his first race in F1 30 years ago this year. That makes it even more emotional and even nicer." Coming from F2, we have very little experience on the F1 tire, but we do have a good amount of experience with Pirelli tires, so it's really going to be one of our focus points. We need to get even more information on how to prepare a single lap and also how to prepare the tire for race distances. The races this year are very much longer than the ones we had in F2, and obviously now we only have one race each weekend. We have to be able to extract as much knowledge from the free practice sessions and qualifying to be able then to put everything into the performance of the race. Clearly, they know what they're doing, which means we might see him in the near future in the biggest Formula One races. It's awesome to see another Schumacher make their way into the sport and even get into Formula One. You might think that Formula One is the only racing sport like this that you should be getting into, but don't underestimate Formula 2. They all have some amazing drivers, so getting into Formula One just shows how good of a driver you really are. Sadly, most drivers in Formula One get overshadowed by the other top racers right now, but hopefully over the next few years, things will change as some of the top racers slowly retire or just don't do as well. We need a new era of Formula One, and Lewis Hamilton possibly leaving might just lead us into that new era. What do you think about the next stage of Formula One? Let us know down in the comments section below. And now Button believes Hamilton will return to Formula One. Though Lewis Hamilton himself hasn't said anything about him returning to the sport after his devastating loss a few weeks ago, his co-workers have been adamant that he'll return in 2022 to try and win his 8th title and break a new record in Formula One history. Jenson Button made comments just a few days ago on the state of Lewis Hamilton right now. He has been the only person since the loss to come out and talk about the situation as a correspondent of Sky Sports. He was being interviewed on a British morning TV show called Good Morning Britain. "I haven't got a clue, but I do know I was the only person to interview Lewis after the race," Button said. "But I really do hope he will be racing, and I think he will be racing. You know he wants to win that 8th title and to be the most decorated Formula One driver in F1 history. He will do that. I really do think so. Clearly, he wants Lewis to come back and try to break that record as everyone else does. No matter what happened in the race recently, Lewis has the capability to break that record and gain his 8th title win. Hopefully, he comes back and finishes off his Formula One career with a bang. The departure of Lewis Hamilton will be the end of an amazing era for the sport, but also creates a new one. Lewis really made Formula One even bigger than it already was, so hopefully this next era can do something similar. And finally, we have Singapore signs a new contract to hold the Grand Prix for the next 7 years. Our final story today is really an interesting one and marks a new step into the future of Formula One. According to BBC.co.uk, it looks like Singapore has signed a brand new contract with Formula One to host the Grand Prix for at least the next 7 years. This is huge for the sport and shows just how important it is for the income of a country like Singapore. This also means that a race in 2022 should take place in Singapore and mark the start of these next 7 years. There hasn't been a Formula One race in Singapore in over 2 years now because of the pandemic and other reasons. A statement was also released about the new contract. All parties will work closely together with relevant government agencies and industry stakeholders to refine and implement appropriate protocols to prioritize the health and safety of all participants, staff, fans, and the community. F1 President Stefano Domenicali said, "Singapore holds a special place on the F1 calendar, and this extension is part of our long-term commitment to continue to grow the sport in Asia." It's crazy to think that Formula One has this long of a contract with one player. They obviously know that this sport isn't going anywhere. Even if its biggest hitters leave like Lewis Hamilton, they are always getting in newer and newer talent that should become huge over the next few years. The sport desperately needs a new star, however, as many people are getting bored of the same 5 or 6 drivers being the only important ones in a race. They don't focus on any other drivers throughout the race because all the audience cares about are the top few. Hopefully more drivers come into the sport and shake things up a little bit. The audience needs a change, and so does the sport. What do you think about this all? Let us know down below. And that's the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this latest video, and if you did, would you please let us know down in the comment section below? It would be very helpful. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, and of course subscribe to the channel with the notification bell rung. Thanks for watching today's video. Bye.